Hey, you're listening to the wrong podcast. Topics today include teasing, taunting, and trolling.
Wrong! What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you people? Wrong! You do have to tolerate it. It's my show.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm here to talk about politics, culture, religion, sports, and anything else you're not allowed to talk about in polite company. Issue number 1! Verified. This week, Elon Musk did something radical to Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, you don't know about this, but if you're on Twitter, you for sure know. Elon Musk changed how Twitter works. It used to be that if you were a celebrity, notable person, somebody other people might like to impersonate, that they would give you a blue verified checkmark so that everybody would know that, I don't know, this is actually Donald Trump speaking, or this is actually Barack Obama who is saying this thing. It's not some parody account. It's not somebody faking it. It's the real thing. When Elon Musk took over, he started selling those blue checkmarks to just anybody who wanted them. You would just have to pay $8 a month and you could have it. And, they would verify who you were. They'd make sure you were a real person. You'd have to turn in some information to prove that you were real. But you could go by any name you wanted as long as you paid the $8 a month. So people with blue check marks were celebrities and people who paid for it. And recently, Elon said, hey, you know what? Nobody gets the blue check mark for free anymore. We're taking that away. Everybody's going to be treated the same unless you pay the $8 a month. And this made celebrities quite upset. And they're like, well, this is going to be dumb. Like, how are you going to know if it's the real Barack Obama talking or not? How are you going to know if it's the real Oprah Winfrey? It could be anybody. And some celebrities are like, there's no way I'm paying for this. Like, Twitter should be paying me. Stephen King in particular is like, I generate way more value for this website than it generates for me. Twitter really should be paying me. I'm not going to pay it. And, Stephen King, he's a political liberal. He's on the left, and he disagrees with Elon Musk about a great many things. And he is not afraid to say what he disagrees about, particularly in how Elon Musk is operating Twitter. And he's made it extremely clear that he is not paying the $8 a month. Well, this week, the change went through. All the celebrities lost their blue check marks. And strangely, Stephen King had a blue check mark. And there were a number of other people who were also critics of Elon Musk who also still had blue check marks. And all of them, without fail, all of these people said, hey, everybody, I just want you to know I did not pay for this blue check mark. And on one of them was complaining. They're like, I really, really didn't pay for this. Like, this is not cool. Why is this blue check mark still showing up? And Elon Musk responded with a gif of a baby crying. Basically, Elon Musk is trolling these people. He's like, I'm going to make everybody think that you love me and that you're willing to pay money for this site. You're welcome. Congratulations on your free blue checkmark. Issue number 2. Float like a butterfly. We have a doctor in our area. His name is Muhammad Ali. And he was in an office building nearby. He moved, but when he was in this office building nearby, he had these huge block letters on the side of the building saying Dr. Muhammad Ali. And every time we drove by Dr. Muhammad Ali's office, the lovely Wendy would say, I pity the fool. And that's funny if you're a Gen Xer like we are, and you know that pity the fool is actually something Mr. T used to say, not Muhammad Ali. And, it was funny every time she said it because for both reasons, both because she was saying it ironically and because she wasn't saying it ironically. She, kind of confused the two. And what comes to mind probably for most of us when we think about Muhammad Ali is this famous black and white photograph. And he's boxing somebody and his opponent is on the ground and Muhammad Ali is standing over him and he's got this menacing look on his face. He's like yelling at the guy. He's like taunting him and he's got like his fist up across his chest and it looks like he's taunting his opponent. And Muhammad Ali is known for taunting and he's known for having the ability to speak superfluously, that's the word. And so this photo is iconic because it really kind of catches the character of Muhammad Ali. And let me tell you two things about this photo. First is, the thing photographers love to tell you about this photo is it looks so great because at the time people were still allowed to smoke cigarettes inside. And so all of the cigarette smoke gives this atmospheric look to the photo that wouldn't exist in photos today. And I'm not totally convinced that the cigarette smoke was really adding to the drama of the photo, but you just need to know that that's what photographers like to tell you about this photo. The other thing you should know about this photo is that it is nothing like what you think it is when you look at it. This photo comes from when Muhammad Ali, he was Cassius Clay at the time, he wins the heavyweight boxing title for the first time. And he has knocked out Sonny Liston. And everybody is convinced that Sonny Liston will win this fight. Muhammad Ali is young, he's up and coming, but he's young, and nobody thinks he's ready for Sonny Liston. And I'm sorry, I should have looked it up, but like within the first round or two, Muhammad Ali knocks Sonny Liston out. And what you're actually seeing in that photo is not Muhammad Ali taunting his opponent. He's actually yelling at him to get up because Sonny Liston probably threw the fight. Somebody paid him off to just fall down at some point and not get up. Even if he was able to, just fall on the ground. And Muhammad Ali knows that he has not hit Sonny Liston hard enough to knock him out in that moment, and certainly not that early in the fight. And so Muhammad Ali is yelling at him, hey, get up! Get up! Like, what are you doing? And Muhammad Ali knew that if Sonny Liston fell down that early in the fight, it would tarnish his own reputation. Everybody would know that he didn't actually earn the title, that it was given to him by his opponent. And he didn't want that. He wanted to earn it outright. And so he's yelling at his opponent, get up, and look at the photo. I'll include the photo in the show notes for episode 84 if you want to find it there at thewrongpodcast.com. But just, Google search, do an image search for Muhammad Ali. I'm sure you'll find this photo. And so after the fight, there's a press conference about it, and Muhammad Ali is like, oh yeah, I totally, I did this special punch where like I twisted my fist just at the right moment at this right angle. And it's this kind of, special punch. And I totally got him with it. And, he didn't stand a chance against it. So he, in that press conference, he's tried to make it appear real that he actually won the fight outright, fair and square. Hey, it's time. What are the rules?
Oh, what are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules?
You guys, I'm so excited for this segment right now. What I'm going to talk about right now is the reason the podcast exists. Full stop. Like, everything else is just window dressing for this right here. I keep seeing these memes on Facebook. The photo shows gas prices from today, which are around $5 a gallon in California, and gas prices from 2020. And it could be like April 2020 or May 2020, or it could be like the day before the 2020 election. I've seen it several times. And the caption on it is always something like, hey, just want to remind you what gas prices were like in 2020. And this is so stupid. It's so stupid, it makes me want to use the word stupid. And I know I shouldn't use the word stupid, but it is so stupid. Let's think back to what was going on in 2020. There was a major pandemic, and not just the entire country, the entire world was locked down. Nobody was supposed to leave their houses. We were all supposed to, avoid public places, no traveling. Nobody was getting on airplanes. The ports in the United States were basically backed up. They weren't operating. Nothing was being imported, including foreign oil. And nobody was using their cars to drive across country. Nobody was using their cars to do their daily commutes. And of course, because of the lack of demand, the price of gas fell to like $1.75 a gallon. Maybe even lower in some places. Like gas was dirt cheap because nobody wanted to use gas. And then, as things opened up and we started traveling again, the price of gas went up. And in addition, a war broke out between Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine both supply a large amount of oil and natural gas to the rest of the world. So, of course, the price of gas has gone up. And all of the OPEC countries, the Middle Eastern oil-producing countries, they have decided that they want the price of gas to be high as well. So they've lowered their own production to make the price go up. And these memes are always generated by people who are supporters of President Trump. And they are detractors of President Biden. And what they are inferring by reminding you of the gas price in 2020 is that President Trump made gas prices low and President Biden made them high. And if Trump was just in office, the price of gas would be low again. And this is just stupid. Really, I want to use the word stupid. It's true. President Trump made the price of gas low. Do you know how he made the price of gas low? He locked us all down. Now, the pandemic wasn't his fault. The response to the pandemic wasn't his fault, but he certainly had some play in it, right? I'm sure the price of gas would have gone low even if the government hadn't suggested we all stop traveling, because a great many people would have stopped traveling because they didn't want to get sick from a disease they had never heard of before. If you think that the President of the United States can control the price of gas, you should be terrified. You should be terrified about how much power the man has. The man or woman, hopefully, eventually, the person sitting in the office should not have enough power to dramatically impact the price of gas. Certainly not to the tune of $3.50 per gallon. The price of gas is an incredibly complicated thing. It's controlled by a ton of things that the president has no impact on. Now, to be sure, the president can have an impact on the price of gas. If the president decides to invade Saudi Arabia, for example, you can be darn sure that wild things are going to happen to the price of gas. If the president decided to conquer Canada and Mexico and Venezuela, some wild, wacky stuff is going to happen to the price of gas. That would be the president's fault. But there are a ton of things that the president has no control over that also control the price of gas. For example, Russia invading Ukraine. There's only so much the president can do to prevent that. And when that kind of thing happens, the price is going to go up. A pandemic might come about and lock everybody in their houses and make the price of gas go super low. I don't know that we should be giving the president credit or discredit for making that happen. And regardless, I don't want to remember anything about 2020, much less the price of gas. Remember, I want to know what's wrong with you.
What's wrong with you?
If you'd like to submit a question, topic, or tell me how I was wrong, you can email me at listen@thewrongpodcast.com or submit a comment at my website, thewrongpodcast.com, and help me spread the wrong message. If you like what you hear, share it with your friends. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show. I was wrong.
I was wrong. I was wrong.
Listener Gerald writes in. He says, great comments about guilt and shame and dignity culture. My very quick research found quite a bit of discussion about dignity culture, although most of it's not current, and not all use exactly the same definition. Many contrast it with victimhood culture. This gives me something to think about. And then a comment left on my website, thewrongpodcast.com, from a listener who gives himself the name Modest Thought. This is probably the most irresponsible and immoral podcast I've ever heard from you. Your immediate distrust of people's accounts of their own experiences is deeply troubling. Additionally, the implicit assumption that people who have interpreted their experiences in a way that differs from what you believe is an exhibition of your imperialistic mindset. Welcome back to colonialism. Your dismissal of other people, their experiences, and your imposition of absurdity upon those experiences represents the trifecta of fascism. I used to find value in these podcasts on the basis that I could see the world from a different perspective that I could make sense of. All I find here is the assertion of superiority over views that differ from yours. That worries me deeply. Issue number 3! Work it! Speaking of Twitter, a while back I was on Twitter and there was this video going around. It was going viral. Everybody was commenting on it. And I'm going to play that video for you here. It's from an account that goes by the name New Protestants. And I'm not sure if they have the blue check mark or not.
Hello, my name is Scott Jarrett, and for the last 21 years I have been the pastor of Christ Covenant Church of Denver, Colorado. During our time of comprehensive and careful study in God's Word, we have become convinced that faith alone is not enough, that getting to heaven requires that we also do the works of faithfully obeying God's commands. In other words, that obedience, like faith, is another condition or necessary instrument to our justification. That being said, it is possible that we are wrong, and we know what that means. Embracing a false gospel will mean eternity in hell, and we don't want that, which is why we are making our appeal to you, the evangelical pastor, those confident that Scripture does indeed teach faith as salvation's only instrument or condition. Here, then, is our appeal to you. Come to our church. We will present our position, and if you can prove from the Scriptures that we are wrong, we will not only repent of our former position, but bless you with $25,000. This is not a scam. We are sincere in our offer. The first person to prove that we are wrong will receive $25,000. Please consider our appeal. If you are selected, your travel to and from our church will be compensated. In addition, we promise to treat you with respect in an environment of intellectual honesty and complete submission to God's Word. Thank you for taking the time to listen.
Now, as you can hear, they are offering quite a bit of money to prove them wrong. And, I'd like quite a bit of money. But I am not applying to go to Kansas City to prove them wrong. And the reason I'm not doing that is because nobody will ever get this money. It is an incredibly difficult thing to get anybody to change their mind. It's even more difficult if their paycheck happens to be tied to what they believe. That doesn't mean that people who have a paycheck tied to their beliefs believe something falsely. It means it's very, very, very difficult to get them to change their mind, right? And I'm not besmirching anybody's character. I'm stating the practicalities of it, right? So if somebody's going to offer that much money to have their mind changed, and they get to decide if you did a good enough job or not to change their mind, and then they'll hand over the money, you can be sure nobody is ever getting this money. And just as a point of comparison, this week, an independent arbitrator, awarded a man $5 million from Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is the MyPillow guy, and he is a strong supporter of President Trump, and he strongly, strongly believes that the election was stolen from President Trump. I believe he actually believes it more than Trump does. In fact, that may not even be a statement of opinion. That might just be a statement of fact. Mike Lindell, he's like, I'm going to show everybody evidence of this. The evidence is there. People keep telling me the evidence is there. They keep bringing me the evidence. I'm going to show everybody the evidence. And he says, hey, I've got these computer packets from the internet. They can't be altered. They show that people on the internet were manipulating voting machines, and all the information is right there. And I'm going to invite cybersecurity experts in to look at this evidence. And anybody who can prove that this evidence isn't related to the stolen election, I will give them $5 million. So this guy, he's actually a Trump supporter. He voted for President Trump in the 2020 election. He's a cybersecurity expert. He says, hey, I'm going to go. I'm interested. I want to know the truth. He says he's got evidence. I want to see it. So he goes and he looks at the evidence, and none of the evidence that was presented were packets from the internet. They didn't have anything to do with what Mike Lindell said. And Lindell said, well, that's because somebody at the event asked for a selfie with me, and I said yes. And when we took the selfie, he poked me with his finger. And I took that as a threat that maybe he was telling me I was going to die. And so I talked to my cybersecurity experts about it, and they all said, hey, maybe you better not put this information out in the public because, it might lead to your death. So the other cybersecurity experts, they came in and there were things for them to look at, but it wasn't the information they told was going to be there. So this guy said, well, this is not proof that the election was stolen. It's not in all of the information that you showed us wasn't the info you said you were going to show us. And so, okay, then I should get the $5 million. And it had to go to an independent arbitrator. The arbitrator this week said, yep, he showed that this is not the information. And Lindell has even said it's not the information. And Lindell is saying, no, this arbitrator got it totally wrong. I'm going to take this to the Supreme Court or something. And the thing is, when something goes to an independent arbitrator, it's pretty much done. Like the arbitrator, you agreed to do whatever the arbitrator said. It's very, very, very rare to get a judge to look at anything an arbitrator has declared. And I just bring that up because even there, Lindell even says that, hey, I didn't show the information, and still he doesn't want to give the $5 million. So, of course, this church in Kansas City, they are not going to give the money if anybody proves to them that works are not what saves you. Now, if you're a Protestant, particularly if you're a evangelical Protestant, this conversation is very familiar to you. It's a core of our faith. It differentiates us not just from other religions, but even from, Catholics or to some degree Orthodox. And as you know, I've had many conversations with many LDS about their beliefs, and I've had this conversation many, many times with Latter-day Saints. I'm very familiar with it. And I just want to give you a brief overview of how I think about faith and works. And this will resonate with many of you, I'm sure. And if you're not a Protestant, then I hope you can understand our faith a little bit better. The first thing I want to say is that what I believe the Bible says is that the only thing that can save you are the works of Jesus. His death on the cross is the only thing, his blood, his shedding of his own blood, is the only thing that can save you from your own sin. Those are the only works that matter when it comes to your salvation. Now, the Bible does say that we need to have faith in Jesus in order to experience salvation. And in many places, including from Jesus, it says that we need to do things in order to secure our salvation. In James, it famously says, faith without works is dead. So how do I reconcile those two things? How do I work and how do my works work if I also believe that the only works that matter are Jesus's? First, I just want to clarify that there's a difference between faith and belief. Satan and all the demons, they have perfect theology when it comes to Jesus. They recognize that Jesus is the Son of God. They have correct belief about who Jesus is. Their belief does not save them. Merely having belief, merely saying a prayer or saying, yes, I believe that Jesus saves my sins, is not saving faith. That's a belief. Beliefs won't save you. Faith requires some sort of action. If you approach a bridge and you're not sure about that bridge, whether it will carry you over the bridge, maybe your truck is overloaded, you don't actually have faith in the bridge until you step out onto the bridge. When you cross the bridge, you're exercising your faith. You do this in all kinds of places, all the time, every day. Every time you sit down in a chair, you are exercising faith. Now, not faith in Jesus, you're exercising faith in that chair. You look at the chair, you determine whether or not it looks solid enough, and then you sit in the chair. If you're married, you exercise faith about your spouse. I believe they are not going to stab me in the ear in the middle of the night. When you're driving down the freeway, you're exercising faith in all of the other drivers that they're all going to keep going the same direction at roughly the same speed. You don't have a concern that they're going to throw open their car doors and make you come to a fiery wreck. If you thought that they were going to do that, you would probably stay off the freeway, right? You would lose your faith in the other drivers. You would lose your faith in the safety of driving on the freeway. There was a TV preacher. His name was Gene Scott. And Gene Scott was a character. And if you don't know who Gene Scott is, let me just tell you. Some of you are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's bringing up Gene Scott. I haven't heard about that guy in years. Gene Scott would sit and he would smoke cigars, and I think he might have been drinking scotch at the time, sometimes too. And sometimes he'd have two sets of glasses on at the same time. And he was just a character. He would sometimes just refuse to preach. He'd be like, I'm not preaching until $30,000 comes in. Like, I'm not failing today. Like, get on your phones and call me. Like, get off your butts and get to your phones and call. And literally for minutes, he would just stare angrily at the TV camera until people felt guilty enough to call in and give him the $30,000. And when he would do his Sunday morning sermons, he would have this whiteboard and he would start writing things on the whiteboard, and he would never have enough space for all the things he wanted to write. He would deliver sermons. They were about 50 minutes long, and he was just writing all kinds of things in Greek and Hebrew and English, and eventually he would start writing things over things because he didn't want to erase anything. And he was mesmerizing because he had this ability to speak for hours and never get to a point. Like, you're like, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to listen until he gets to a point. And he would never get to a point. It was amazing. Like, and maybe that was part of the appeal of what kept him on TV. People were like, I got to watch this guy because eventually he's going to land the plane, right? And then at the end of his sermons, he'd just be like, that's it. Now sing Amazing Grace. And, the choir or whatever would get up and sing Amazing Grace. And I bring him up because despite his lack of a point, he actually would say something that the one thing I do remember him preaching about that I agree on is that he would say that the word faith is actually an action verb. And it would be better to say it's faithing. Not just faith, but faithing. You have to demonstrate faith in Jesus. And that's where our works come into play. We exhibit our faith in Jesus by doing the things he commands us to do. We say, yes, I believe that you are trustworthy. I believe that you can save me from my sins. I believe that you are the creator of all things. And I show it by doing the things he asked me to do. That includes changing my own behavior, changing my heart, changing my temperament, and by serving and loving other people. And if I don't do those things, then I'm not exhibiting my faith. If I don't do works, if there aren't some sort of works in my life, I'm not exhibiting faith in Jesus. I maybe have belief in Jesus, but I don't have faith in him, because just like the chair requires you to actually sit in the chair, having faith in Jesus requires you to do the things he says you should do. So let's go back to this Twitter account called The New Protestants and the video they posted. So immediately they post this video saying, hey, your works can't save you. We believe it. We'll pay you, this money if you just come and prove us wrong. And immediately tons of people start shotgunning them with all kinds of biblical passages showing that, that your works can't save you, that only faith in Jesus saves you. Just all the favorite passages. People are like, well, I've got this solved. I'll just give you, I can answer this question in 120 characters, no problem. And of course that's dumb. It's a waste of time. They aren't going to respond to your tweets. They're not going to be like, oh, somehow we missed that verse. I guess here's your money. No, you have to actually go. You have to go travel to Kansas City and sit down with them and listen to them and then present your evidence. And I followed up and started paying attention to the other things they were saying. And basically, everything I just said to you is what they believe as well. They believe exactly the same things I believe. From what I could tell from my cursory assessment from their Twitter account, they believe the things I just said to you. And what they're doing is they're just trolling a bunch of Reformed Baptists. They're trolling people who say that it's just belief and nothing else. That's the thing that saves you. And they're choosing not to clarify it so much in their initial video because they want attention. It was kind of a marketing scheme to get attention so that everybody would be talking about them. And then if they're being talked about, then people would gain interest in them. And, nobody's really got time for that. But I could be wrong. If you think I am, let me know. Let me know why. I had fun and I hope you did too. Bye-bye.